Well, hello, YouTubers. Uh, this book is called Second Sight by World of Darkness. New World of Darkness, to be precise. By White Wolf Publishing. Uh, if you don't know about Mage the Awakening, which is the New World of Darkness's answer to Mage the Ascension, it is all about uh, the other magic users in the world besides the mages, who are the main magic users who draw upon magic from another worldly realm. Um, it also goes over psychics and all their kind. Um, cults, people who cannot control their powers, people who can control their powers, people who use different kinds of rites for different kinds of purposes, like the magic traditions, which I shall get into later. Now, one thing that they say that you should not do in this book that I say, well, as a storyteller, I might do anyways, just so that I can, just to have a little interesting story, is to not mix you know, have a vampire with psychic abilities, mostly because, one, he has his abilities of his own, and two, it could make him slightly, overpowered, or underpowered, depending on how you mix him. Um, so, it also says that because they're not quite because this is basically a human power, and vampires are no longer human. Neither are uh, most of the other creatures in the world of darkness, except for maybe hunters, um, which I guess you could put in some of the magic abilities as hunter merits, but that's your choice. As storytellers, do as you may, as the apostates of the dark ones shall say, which I shall go into later as well. Now, I'll go to the psychics first, since the book likes to explain the psychics first, and they also have a nice little story, a prologue for those, about a young boy who is forced to develop his powers, even though his powers don't quite develop quite the way they wanted, which really sets in the mood for Second Sight. You see, they like to explain that most psychics in the world of darkness don't really have it quite that easy. It's not all rainbows and trips to Vegas and donuts. It's all about really using your powers to the advantages that you can, and by which you can really puts in how you can. They are both a curse and a gift. And so, with that in mind, they like to put in that psychic abilities also do not work as the mage's abilities do not work. When people who do not believe in psychic abilities or do not believe in magic uh, really believe, not just say, oh yeah, I think that's totally possible. No, they have to really, in their heart, believe that magic is completely possible, that mind bending realities are completely possible. And so, uh, it's best, as they explain to book, to not use your powers in front of people. So, yeah, there's a level of secrecy that goes along with this book, and this level of secrecy also grows as your powers may develop and you use more and more of your powers. Um, Now, the powers are presented as merits, so if you're making a new character, that means you can have a good range of abilities in the very first, as soon as you make them. And they like to explain that mages may be born with their powers, or they may have just developed them out of nowhere, or they could just learn them. That all humans have the ability to be psychics, and that also that you may not have the ability to learn other abilities once you develop your own. They also say that you may. That's about it for the psychics. There's also a good range of merits that goes along with the psychics that also go along with the other magic users besides the mages, as I explained, which I shall get into right now. Um, there are five magic traditions, and and by traditions they go along with. They like to say that Mage the Awakening was magic before human civilization. Now, this is magic that was developed during human civilization. All of it was developed during human civilization, though there are some hints that it was there before. Um, as such as the apostates of the Dark One, which basically worships um, a being um, that was before the universe, that was before light, that was before humanity and the dinosaurs and everything else. It is a force that literally became a being that was already a being of terrible power, and these these apostates basically worship it. Then there's the ceremonial mages, which use different kinds of rites and rituals to invoke their powers, which may also worship gods, though mainly different gods than the apostates. Then there are the hedge witches who use earth magics, as could be explained, to basically invoke their powers. Then there are the shamans who use spiritual magic to commune with the spirit world and to help their kind, as can be mainly explained here. And the Vudans, who worship both ghosts and spirits, as is explained here. I don't know why I keep saying that, as is explained. I'll stop saying that. And depending on the tradition that you choose, I found this interesting. Is also tells you uh, what kind of magical abilities you get to have, such as only such as just a second. Let me look this up really quickly, so I don't talk out of my ass. Um, Only apostates can have communion of up to 4 dots, because obviously that goes along very much in their tradition, that it's mostly about doing what you will whilst worshiping this dark being. Um, Now they have their huge set of weak. Now they have their set of weaknesses, and they have their set of strengths, such as when a ceremonial mage makes a really formal kind of ritual, he gets a good bonus, and if he does an improper ritual, informal, as he tries to rush or something else, it comes up as it comes up as a it comes as a good negative. And so I was gonna say bonus again. And so basically their abilities range from psychic projection to scrying, the ability to look in upon another person. Soul jars, which is the ability to capture another person's soul, really terrifying. And warding, so that you may keep away some of the ghosts and spirits that may do harm to you. And so that's about it for the magic people. Who mostly rely, as they say, in the book. Well, actually, no. There's some other things to note. In the book, they say that it may be the rituals that invoke the magic. It may be just the belief in magic itself, or it could be a combination of the two, or it could be another third altogether. It could be something completely different. And so, a lot of the rituals aren't quite as potent as the spells in Mage, such as Favorable Fortune, which is a thing where you ask fate to give you something. And so, if you ask for a ride while you're walking down a lone road in the middle of the countryside, all of a sudden a car thief could just drive down the road, hop out, go into the forest, and suddenly there's a car there which is presumably stolen, as he is a car thief. And so, it's up to you to really decide the fate of it. There's also good things that go along with it. It's not just that, like which in I'm trying to think of one. I'm sorry. Which is in weather control. You can control the weather, which is quite powerful. which is why it's the most powerful spell in that book. Just a second, my computer blanked out on me. But it's not quite as powerful enough to create a typhoon or a hurricane and whatnot. And this is a really long video. We have to cut this into parts. And so with that, there's also the cults. Cults in this book are kind of like worshipping Cthulhu-like beings with awesome powers, but can't really interact with our worlds besides his cultists. And so they develop a wide range of abilities. So they may develop a wide range of abilities, or they may not, depending on the power of their god. Uh, Such as the Elder Tongue, which allows the reader to use and read uh, in his god's language for up to 24 hours. And this allows him to read ancient texts of his god, so that he may further upgrade his abilities. And they also go into a psychic who doesn't quite have control over his power, uh, who has the power called the Power. Yes, good naming there. And it's a it is a being of its own right, you could say, because it has its own needs and wants, and it reproduces even. It basically makes you feel like a god. It basically makes you feel like a god. You're powerful, you're righteous, you're just good, and and it's like coming on to a really good high. And then suddenly you fall, and the power is no longer yours. You're no longer in control, and you feel that. And the background for this is really, and it puts in a lot of moral dilemmas. And so, and there's a lot of moral dilemmas in this book. It's a really interesting book. I would recommend buying it just so that you could read it. If you can't tell, we're coming to the end of this. Um, all in all, a great book to read, a good book to use if you're looking to mortal storytelling with some not quite as powerful powers, um, but interesting in its own right. Thank you for watching. My name is Gold Keys.